Hello there, it's Dr. Masha, a naturopathic doctor, and I'm continuing my podcast. Today, I have such a privilege to talk to Roman Shapoval from the Power Couple. He and his beautiful partner, Bohdanna, are doing amazing work in so many areas. And one of the areas we will be talking about is electromagnetic radiation and how to reduce it around us. We're all surrounded by man-made frequencies, but how do they affect our health? So this is a very topical issue these days. And if you haven't explored Roman's Substack, the Power Couple is simply incredible. I get so much information out of there. I always quote the articles, encourage everybody to go read them for themselves, explore. They're well written, well researched. Just such plethora of information. So today we'll be talking about lots of interesting topics. So tune in, especially if you heard maybe something about the EMF, that's the abbreviation, electromagnetic radiation. So, but before we begin the actual electromagnetic radiation, let's hear from Roman and his story. How did he get into this? Roman, how did you get into this area of electromagnetic radiation?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Maria, and everybody that's joining us today. Really appreciate you taking the time out to learn about this complex, often intimidating, overwhelming topic that we try to make simple here for you today. But yeah, so when I was born, I played with blocks and drew pictures like a normal child. And didn't think, I was going to become some kind of person researching physics and light and all these other things. But what pushed me down this topic was a lot of my family got sick and they died from cancer. And as a young child, I was left scratching my head. Why is everybody so sick all the time? So I've always been interested in health, everything from nutrition to exercise. But the one aspect that I always took for granted was how light affected health. And I never really thought about that. It was always inside a lot. I mean, I played outside, but we were, at nighttime, we were inside playing video games or watching TV. I never really thought about that. And so I went to school, studied psychology because I've always been fascinated with the human mind. But then I got into sales, selling computers because, my friend told me about this company that, that I could make more money there. So I thought, well, let me just go make money. But I wound up being very unhappy, got very stressed out, constantly had my cell phone on me, getting calls on the weekends and at night, and just very unhealthy. And that added stress led me to, abuse substances, drink, just very poor sleep quality. And, I'd be up late at night playing computer games. And I got less and less healthy, and I was always pretty in shape. And then Bohdanna, my wife, came along, and my life really changed at that point because when we went on our honeymoon, she got, she got burnt out, but it was really a withdrawal from SSRI medications and antidepressants that she should have never been on. So when she crashed and burned on her honeymoon, I was again scratching my head. What's going on? Why do these patterns keep repeating themselves with people constantly getting sick? So we came home and we had to look at all options, all alternatives. And the one thing that really pushed the needle the most was changing our light environment. So kudos and credit to her. She would get up and get outside in the Canadian winter while she was depressed too. And, this is for somebody who, a normal person going outside, they don't want to do that. And so, yeah, we did that together. And after 9 months to a year, we finally started seeing improvements. And this is something that requires no medication, just willpower and and your human spirit. And digging into literature from the late 1800s, German doctors were saying, go outside. That's the best thing that for the patient. Get as much sunlight as they can bear. And reading studies about how antidepressants versus exercise. Well, exercise always was, fared better. Those participants fared better than the people on antidepressants. So when I looked at that aspect of just, okay, so that's what visible light can do for our health. What if light is 99.97% invisible? What is the rest of the invisible light doing to our health? And that's what propelled me down the rabbit hole of wireless and what our smart meter could be doing to us while we're sleeping, what our cell phones are doing to us, satellites, cell towers, all these things. And it really got me thinking about the holistic aspects of health, and still very interested in nutrition, and of course that has a large impact on our health and hormones. But the light aspect is something that I found a lot of people weren't really talking about, or they were talking about shielding your cell phone or putting some sticker on your cell phone. And that was about as far as the popular conversation went. And I really started looking at everything, even the dirty electricity in our walls, potential ground currents, and thanks to certain mentors in this field, like Paul Harding, who also is in Arizona, he really stoked my interest with the dirty electricity aspect. Then, in our podcast, we interviewed Dave Stetzer, who has since passed away, but he was a pioneer. He worked with a lot of people in Russia, actually a lot of scientists in Russia, about that dirty electricity that they take more seriously there. And yeah, we just, really propelled me down this path of discovery. And the blessing has been connecting with such beautiful, brilliant like minds like yourself and scientists all throughout the world, like Ole Johansson and others that, man, there's so many. I can't even name. We've been doing our podcast for now 3 years. But Eileen O'Connor in Great Britain, she's helped people with their smart meters. Arthur Furstenberg, who I knew for a while before he passed away. And and now just kind of trying to take up the torch and help others really reduce EMF in their environment just by practical, simple steps we can take. And that's how we got better, just by taking those small steps, because everything all at once is very overwhelming. But when we can do those small things, it really makes a difference over time.
That this information is so crucial these days. Thank you, Roman, for telling us your story. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so sincere. We appreciate it. So yes, it's a topic that when I talk to patients, they say, oh yeah, I heard about it. But because, like you mentioned, it's so overwhelming, we just don't want to do it. Or it's just one more thing on a plate, right? One more thing on a plate. But I was going to start with Wi-Fi. So it's so prolific these days. Sometimes people would have 2 or 3 Wi-Fi in the house, the routers, right? And then, of course, if it's an apartment complex or even houses located close to each other, then you catch Wi-Fi from everybody else. Right. So, and I talk to all my patients about Wi-Fi. I try to. I have a little handout that I send them. What do you usually tell your clients? Or what do you tell people to start this conversation? What is this little device that is wireless, transmitting some kind of signals? What is it doing to us? Or how do we explain the whole Wi-Fi thing?
Yeah, great question. Well, most people, I shouldn't say most, but many people are aware of how blue light affects our melatonin levels at night, right? So if you're looking at a bright screen or your phone, even the moon, that can delay melatonin release by at least 2 hours. Now, it takes about 3 hours for your melatonin to start peaking at night. Melatonin protects against all kinds of disease, including cancer. So when you diminish and destroy melatonin, that leads to, well, more disease, right? So what happens with the invisible light? Now, going back to the 99.97% of all the other invisible light. Well, you can think of Wi-Fi as invisible light that our bodies are exposed to, just like the melatonin. And the Wi-Fi affects our bodies through various pathways, but our brains are electrical organs. So if you ever gone to the hospital and you had an electroencephalogram or an electrocardiogram on your brain or your heart, you'll understand that our bodies are electric. Our heart pulses, an average adult heart pulses at around 1 hertz or 1 cycle per second. Our brains, when they sleep or even during the day or as we meditate or laugh, dance, eat, they pulse from 8 to 30 cycles per second on average. So, and when we sleep, we go through the 4 stages of sleep, which are, are delta, theta, REM, alpha, brain waves, and those stages vary in terms of frequency. So our brains will go from 8 to 4 to 10 to 12. All throughout the night, our brains are varying their frequencies, and this is how our brains are regenerating, how they're detoxifying heavy metals and chemicals out of what's called the glymphatic system that's pulsing it, because it's pulsing our neurons and our blood vessels and our lymphatic system to shuttle toxins out when we sleep. So we think of, okay, let's just start with 8 hertz, right? That's around alpha frequency. That's what we're in during the day, and also at certain times during the night, or theta, which is around 4 hertz. So that's 4 cycles per second, 4 to 8 cycles per second. Now, when we introduce Wi-Fi, now that's 2.45 gigahertz on average. So let's say 2.5 gigahertz, which is 2.5 billion hertz. So now you're going from 4 hertz or 4 cycles per second to 2.5 billion times per second. So now you have a frequency that's causing this distortion. If you've ever seen ripples in a pond, if you've ever thrown pebbles into a pond and you see those beautiful circular ripples coming out. Well, if you were to then put a boulder, right, or throw some leaves or some many rocks all at once at the same time with that little pebble, that beautiful circular ripple will now become distorted. You would have all types of ripples. And this is what happens. We're throwing billions of pebbles into this pond that was once peaceful, that had that one ripple, rippling 4 times a second, and now you have billions of ripples. And that's what Wi-Fi is doing to us on a frequency level. So now we also have the magnetic level, which we have magnetic receptors in our eyes and our nervous system called chromophores, and that can affect us. There's been studies showing that magnetic fields from our Wi-Fi can affect the radio frequency, can affect the way our brains operate as well. And then so those are just a few things, drawing some analogies. But what I tell people is, number one, if you can shut the Wi-Fi off, obviously that's the easiest thing to do. If you can't do that, and you're living, say, in an apartment or in a complex, I always tell people, if you have the circuit breaker in your room, or you can shut off the power to your bedroom, that's the next best thing, or really the best thing, because all electromagnetic frequencies will pair onto anything that's a live wire. So copper transmits electricity, and electromagnetic fields, well, they magnetize to each other. They attract to each other, just like people dancing, right? Or you could think lovers kissing, right? It's just all these fields are, when you have one that's very attractive and strong, it's going to magnetize other people to it. So
Mm-hmm.
so when you get rid of it, then other frequencies, they may still be around, like radio frequency or wireless frequencies may still penetrate, but at least the electric frequencies in your wall are going to be zero, and that's going to reduce your EMF load and exposure considerably. So that's the best thing to do. Now, if you can't do that, or if you can get rid of the Wi-Fi, great. If you can't for some reason, and you need to have that certain internet service provider, you can't switch providers. I always tell people, call your provider, ask them for a list of compatible routers or modems that you can use, because we bought our internet modem about 10 years ago, and we've never had to rent one. It costs $100, and we've had it for almost 10 years. And that's not only saved us money, but it's also we've been able to shut off the Wi-Fi on it. So you can get a modem from your internet service provider that can have Wi-Fi. You can even have the ability to shut it off, and this depends on your provider. And this is where I help people and guide them through this process. And then you can plug in another modem if you wanted to keep Wi-Fi. It's called a JRS Eco router, and this can plug into that modem, and it'll only use Wi-Fi when you need it. So you can have your internet service provider shut off. You have this separate modem that then pulses Wi-Fi only when you need it. So, if you're on Facebook, or if you're listening to, if you need some kind of app to sync to it, just at that time, it's getting Wi-Fi, because most Wi-Fi routers, they're pulsing 24/7. They never stop. It makes like a woodpecker noise. That's how your brain hears it. That's how your animals hear it too.
Mm-hmm.
But with these other routers, they can just be operating when you need them, which is a great option if you can do that. So yeah, there's many things we can do, but yeah, it's a great question.
Roman, this is great. I didn't know that. So the fact that you mentioned that you can turn off your breaker, and then it wouldn't attract that electrical part of it, right? So you reduce it, even though your Wi-Fi is still on, the router is still on, and you're not able to turn it off, right? But at least you did that portion. And you're not in the midst of the swimming in this waves. This is incredible. And then all these different options you mentioned for people how to use the Wi-Fi. So encourage everybody. Of course, we'll talk about it more, the contacts and how to contact Roman. But it is so helpful to understand, because there is no knowledge, there is no information, there is no booklets that are given to us when Wi-Fi is connected to our homes, right? It's not like we're informed. There are different options, different routers. You can use it on a different way. How you mentioned, like you need to download the app, and that's it. So you a plethora of information, but none of it is getting to the customer, right? None of it's getting to the customer unless you get interested and you kind of think, well, what is going on with this? Let me research. Even research may not lead you instantly anywhere on any of the search engines, but you have to kind of be really particularly passionate about the topic. But if you live in your life, you have no idea, because information is not out there. And talking about the information is not out there, it happens the same way with these days with well, I mean, so many devices, but particularly I see it, and it's every year more and more, is the smartwatches on little children. So before you would see them on adults, then it's teenagers. Now I see them on 6-year-olds or on such tiny babies. And it gives parents, I guess, a full sense of security that, well, I can take my cell phone and I can track them where they're moving around. So it gives me peace of mind that they're safe, right? But they're wearing them all day long. Tell us a little bit, because there is so little information about the smartwatch. Is the radiation coming from a cell tower to this device? Is it going into the arm? Is it going into the whole body? Or I guess parents kind of assume that it's maybe linear, right? Like it just connected, it disconnected. So we really have no idea how the signal is spreading.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say, too, to all parents that, I understand, wanting to know who your child is. I don't have children, but I do have a sister that's 10 years younger, and I was tasked with caring for her after my mother passed away. So I understand the responsibility of having somebody that's younger in your care. Um, you know, uh, it's difficult because, with children, you want them to be safe, but with at a certain age, you have to give them the flexibility to make mistakes, especially teenagers. When I was a camp counselor, we had children, probably 30 boys in their teens, doing all kinds of stupid things, but you have to let them do that because otherwise they're never going to learn, right? And things are going to happen, but that's how resilience is built. But I would say, giving your child that tracker, that it's basically a tracking device. The benefit to you is, yes, you may know where they are at all times. But so when I used to go home, my mom, she gave me a key to the house, right? I could, after school, I'd come home. She was still at work. So I'd have the key. I'd be going home alone. And then I'd be home, right? But giving your child a smartwatch is kind of like giving 1,000 other people the key to your house, right? You never know if they're going to find your house, or they're going to find a child in that house. But you're giving everybody the keys to your own domicile, to your own private area, right? And you can have control or see where your child is, but guess what? Millions of other people, potentially predators, are going to see where your child is too, because these things, anything wireless is very easily hackable. So that's one thing just to touch on. And with your question on the radiation, it's a great question. The way it works is through a process known as, and you can find more information if you want to dig into the science, but it's called Boolean precursors, which is a physics term. But these are basically fields in our body that run along our nerves, which are the same as the acupuncture meridian. And these acupuncture meridians, they run along our nervous system pathways, and they fire signals. So I've even seen chiropractors online, but in a video where he had a smartwatch on the wrist of his patient. He was trying to massage him or do some kind of chiropractic maneuver on the neck, very stiff. He asked the patient to take the smartwatch off. Then he was very malleable. He could move everything. So our nerves are connected all over the place. It's like if you stub your toe on a nail, what are you going to do? Or is it just the foot that hurts? No, the pain goes all the way to your head, right? And you scream. So it's the same thing with the watch, right? It's just a nail that's not strong enough for you to scream, but it's constantly ticking and tacking away at your nerves. So it's just something, again, that we don't necessarily feel. Some of us aren't as sensitive as that, but it definitely does have an effect. And so that radiation is going all throughout your body constantly. And it's even throwing off those readings, like the glucose reading that people want to get to track their blood sugar. Certain researchers like Magda Habas out of Ontario, she's done research on how electromagnetic fields can cause what's called type 3 diabetes and spike your blood glucose. So she's tracked even people that are run on treadmills, and she's found that when you run on treadmill, your blood sugar goes up more than if you're running on solid ground. And again, it's because our blood, our bodies are electric. Our blood contains iron. Iron is magnetic. So when these fields magnetize to iron, well, our hemoglobin is not going to be able to use oxygen as efficiently, which is going to cause us to then sequester and recruit more blood to do this and throw off our insulin and all kinds of things. So there's so many effects to this, but there are other trackers that are purely mechanical that you can use that don't need to be tied to anything. That's from a fitness level. But yeah, with your child, that's tough. You have to kind of give them the freedom, and you have to be a responsible parent and trust them. And there's no easy answer, unfortunately, but you just have to build that trust and have a network of friends and other parents you can trust. And it's your child's health at stake. When you understand that these fields can cause cancer and all kinds of other disease, is it really worth it? Right? I don't know. Fear is a difficult thing, right? To really, it impedes our ability to think logically. So, I would just implore people to really think about what they're doing. You're sacrificing your child's health for the possibility to prevent an abduction, but you're giving them the absolute probability that they will become sick and their health will be diminished because you're afraid. So it's just something to consider. It's a very heavy topic, and again, I'm happy to talk this out with anybody.
Right. Yes. In how I think about it, it is really a false security for a child too, because the watch can be off, right, out of battery, out of charge, and then that's it. The whole connection is lost, and the child is used to it. The psychology of a child, right? They're relying, oh, my mom is always available, my dad is always available, or I can click and call them, oh, I can't call them, what do I do? But if you don't have that, you solve your own problem, right? Oh, somebody suspicious comes along, and you know what to say because you learned it, and you're aware of your surroundings, right? Where I am, oh, it's just a little bit scary here, let's say the situation like this, and then you solve it, because that's what we learned from earlier years. We've been to these situations that were a little bit kind of uncomfortable to us, but then we solved it by quickly getting out or running, or
right.
oh, I see that man coming, but I don't want to be close, so I'm taking the different route, right? So you're always kind of thinking, but if you have this thing where I'm going to call some for help, then you're lost, then you're not prepared.
Yeah. And think about it this way. If you're going to be kidnapped as a child, you think that kidnapper is going to let you keep your smartwatch on? No, they're going to take it and they're going to put it in the garbage can, right?
Exactly. They're going to just
do
tap on it and
nothing.
it's gone.
Yeah,
Right.
or if they come upon a wolf in the woods or something, the smartwatch is going to do no good. The best thing you can do is train your child in self-defense.
Exactly.
Right?
Self-defense. Right. Yes. And I so wish that I'm not condemning parents. I know we'll have our fears, right? It's such a human thing. I wish we could live without fears, and we're working right now towards it, maybe not having all these fears, and life is beautiful without fears. But then there should be some kind of information. That there's such a lack of information. That were there studies done on smartwatch in different ages? No, we know they're not. Right? Was there studies done a cell phone for teenagers, right? And every time there is, it's appalling, right? That they should not be exposed to this technology so early. And just so it's a list of things that detrimentals, that content, blue light, radiation, distraction, right? So So yeah, that's why people get overwhelmed and they just say, well, it's hard to live in the present world. Not, but
Mm,
it's good to teach the children to think about it consciously, right? So children, they're very tuned. They are very eager to learn. They're not machines, right? So if you show them cell towers, how the abundance of cell towers appearing, the more people have cell phones, the more cell towers are there, right? Right? You can explain to them how a cell phone works. Tell them it connects to cell tower all the time. So it talks to that machine over there that you see, and that through the frequencies, and it goes all over the whole body. It doesn't just go to your cell phone and back, right? So it takes up a room, or maybe it takes half of the room, right? It takes up the body.
mm,
So understanding it and telling them, and they will actually change their behavior if they understand it. So it doesn't have to be
mm,
through just something drastic, right? But just them
mm,
consciously, and they want to stay healthy. They want to you know get this technology and use it as a tool, so it wouldn't
mm,
become their life. um,
mm.
so yes, thank you for sharing. Yes, this is something that I'm seeing so much with
Well,
parents. And
yeah. And I think it's because people want to be productive. They want to contribute to society. They want to make money. But people think that being busy is being productive. And I think when your health starts diminishing and your mental health starts diminishing, so many people have anxiety, you're no longer being productive, right? You may feel cool because you have this thing, but is that really being productive? Is that really pushing your health and your life in the direction you want? And that's something you have to ask yourself.
let's talk more about the children, right? Because they are suffering the most in this whole technology progressive society that we entered, right? So I like how in your articles you do mention that children's physiology is different, right? So the effect of Wi-Fi, of cell towers, of radiation devices around them, including blue
Mhm.
light, are all even different than for an adult male or an adult female, so that parents can start understanding. It's similar to the vaccines, right? So when you come to pediatrician, there is no talk about the vaccines. It's just, oh, okay, well, these are the schedule, we do it. What's in them? Everything is safe. They wouldn't give it to us if it wasn't safe. And so moving on. So there is no 2-hour conversation with pediatrician about what is this particular ingredient doing to you? Oh, why is this there? Right? Why that
Mm.
was starting at such an early age? Does it make sense? Do they even make sense? Do we need them? So none of this. And the same with all this technology. The children, especially little ones, are kind of shoved into it, pushed into it, and nobody's questioning that their children are crying, behaving, have ADHD, right? Possibly because of all this exposure.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So yeah, children, their brains are different in many ways. Their nervous system, they're obviously still developing, but they have thinner skulls, so the radiation penetrates deeper. Their brains are more water. They're more uniform too. And a developed brain has more folds and crevices that allows these frequencies to bounce more and get refracted like light particles. Kind of like, if you say you have a prism that's clear, it's going to let light through totally. That's like a child's brain. And then if you have a prism that's a little darker or black, it's going to impede the light more. And that's more of an adult's brain. It's just a very simple analogy. I know that's not totally accurate scientifically, but so a child's brain lets frequencies in a lot more easily because of the uniformity of its structure, the water content,
Mhm.
and their skull. And even little nuances like their ears are smaller, so there's less of a space between the ear and the head. So that brings the phone even closer to their head because there's less of a space. Their ears aren't as big. So just things like this. Their eyes also, their retina isn't totally developed, so the blue light can penetrate I believe it's 60% more. I have an article on but yeah, the blue light will penetrate deeper. But science doesn't think it's an issue because they take their dictates from these mainstream medical boards like the American Institute of Optometry, which says blue light isn't a problem. Because it's found in sunlight, so it's not an issue, but they don't think about how red light is always in sunlight, and that's what regenerates us, whereas blue light in our phones is just blue light. There's no other frequencies paired with that, or wavelengths paired with that, I should say. So myopia is increasing in areas that are highly tech saturated, like South Korea, and we're seeing an explosion in myopia. My wife went to go see an eye doctor last year, and she just asked him, said, "Well, why are so many people nearsighted now? You think?" "Oh, I don't know, just because." He said something like that. It was just like, they don't think, a lot of these doctors, and don't get me wrong, I mean, not all doctors are bad. Some are great, but the main narrative that's being pushed is just, it's blindsided, no pun intended. It's the blind leading the blind, and so if you're a parent, any little protection you can do. There's tablets out there that they have now called the daylight computer, which is totally red light. There's no blue light in it, which is great. And it can also be hardwired. So there are solutions out there. There's red light filters. But if you're a child, I mean, think about this. Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, they didn't give their children tablets or phones at all until I think they were like 16 or something like that. So what does that tell you? That tells you that the person selling their product didn't believe in the product that they were selling, right, for children. So why would you do that, right? The Silicon Valley executives put their children in Waldorf schools, where you do finger painting, right? But other children are given tablets. So there's the whole. Then there's also the neural connections that our hands are making, right? Like we said about nerves being connected through your entire body. When you write in cursive, that activates both brain hemispheres. When you text, that's doing nothing. That's just dampening your neural signals, because now you're just using two thumbs, and it's really not leading to a lot of brain activity. That's why musicians have more developed brains, because they're thinking creatively, logically, and they're using their whole body to interact and express themselves, versus just this monotonous thing that's literally magnetizes itself onto your brain. They've even shown that alpha frequencies can be created or accentuated in your brain when you're on a phone. And it works through what's called transcranial magnetic stimulation, which basically means the phone stimulates certain parts of your brain that will then, I think it's the perihabenular nucleus, that's the part of your brain, but it basically induces this alpha frequency, and that makes you more kind of like not a zombie, but more just like in a trance state. And that you think, okay, well, so what? Well, that can impair moral judgments too, because you may not be as apt to care if somebody falls off a bridge, or something happens to someone, where they've done studies on that too with cell phones, that your moral judgments are impaired. So this has far-reaching consequences, and there's a scroll effect. There's all kinds of things. But if you want to find out about all this too, we created a guide called The Parent's Guide to Tech Addiction, which we have on our website. It's a few dollars, just it's a wonderful document for people who want to share stuff with other loved ones, or people that may be on the fence and think, oh, EMF is just a tinfoil conspiracy, or it's not a problem. We have tons of research there from credible sources that'll be a nice tool for you if you want to convince other people, or at least have it with you to educate yourself.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. That is very helpful. I'm going to go there. I'm going to buy, download, give it to patients. I talk to parents around me. So because the situation is quite grave, because we're seeing right now at schools, in regular schools, public schools, children are given laptops or iPads already in second and third grade. Right, so they already so early. Why do they need them? There is nobody is asking children. Actually, if you talk to children, and I'm surrounded by children, and I talk to different ones who are 10, maybe 12, I ask them, and they do not like it. They say they have a headache. They don't like doing math on the computer. They want to do it on the piece of paper. They don't like that everything is now on the computer in older grades, right? They themselves, but nobody, of course, is asking children. It's like there is a survey, and children are asked, so how would you like this trend to go? Would you like more computers, more technology? They already feel it so much in them, and we have to speak for them, right? We have to speak for them, be in tune with our children, and understand that it's not the tantrum. It's not because they're a teenager and they have hormones, fluctuations. It's not always just they are, entitled to something, or they're just such a generation that has too much. That it could be all these influences on them. They get so exhausted after school, right? Because schools becomes these hubs of Wi-Fi boosters, right? To catch all this Wi-Fi. The cell towers are, for some reason, next to schools, right, of different ages. And plus they come to school now. Elementary school children have cell phones, right? And so they come to schools and they study with the computers, right? And we talk about even brain rot, right? Brain rot in alpha generation. And it is very unfortunate. And it's not them, right? It's us, right? It's us.
Yeah.
Who got them a laptop? Who got them an iPad? Who got them this cell phone? Who did it? Us, right? So we have to question ourselves. It's so much about our own awakening, not blaming your teenager now so dependent and hooked up on his cell phone, or your little one are constantly screaming and yelling at you till you get them the electronics, right? Well, just start thinking what we've done, right? What we've done. So it's an incredible time to be alive, right? To watch all this, and at the same time to start using our consciousness, our heart, right, our intuition, observations. Because if people want to go online, they won't necessarily find the information, right? Google, I already, I don't research anything anymore, right? There is no point. There is no point of me of going on Google and researching the topic. The other day I wanted to research something about the antibiotic. In fact, I couldn't find anything, right? Because it was all they want you to know. So I'm only maybe research recipes or pictures that I need to find some for the articles, because they will just tell you what you need to know in the first page, and who is going to go to the 30th page, right, of their search. Right, so it has to be our own observation. You know your child, you see them how they are. Is it just because they are in this environment with bombardment of the frequencies, right?
Yeah, and I think part of it is a lot of parents don't know where to turn, and they feel like, oh well, everybody else is doing it, so I'm just going to do it. Who can I? They're going to think I'm crazy, or what am I supposed to do? Mrs. So and so, she's doing it too, and all the neighbors are doing it, and I bet you a lot of the neighbors are thinking the same thing. And again, that's where in that guide that we have resources where other parents can reach out. We encourage parents to find other people through certain groups. But yeah, it all kind of boils down to that peer pressure. And there are solutions out there, and if you just want to talk, that's why we're here too, right? To hear you out, And because we understand how it is. Again, we don't have children, but we grew up with this. I do have a niece and nephew and a younger sister that, we're going through this stuff right now. There's a lot of denial, a lot of addiction with this technology. So we get it. We get it. And, we're an objective person that you can talk to.
Right. Yes, and that is a really good way to tell everybody who is listening to this beautiful podcast that we will provide. I will list all the resources. How you can contact Roman. You can email him. You can have a consultation with him if you are currently in the state of Arizona, right? Or you can talk to him. It could be even something physical, right? Some coming to the house and helping you redo things, because solution is not that difficult, right? It's not that difficult. For example, in my house we don't use Wi-Fi. We just use an adapter. It goes into the adapter, we turn it off. I check all the time if I have any Wi-Fi. My computer is always on the sleep mode, right? Because it's still catching the so some simple things like the Wi-Fi meter, the smart meter, right? We didn't touch upon that, maybe in later conversations. But smart meter, find out about smart meter, how you can replace it with the analog meter in your state. I know it's all different states, but get a little bit into it, but don't get too overwhelmed like Roman is saying. It is a lot, but then little steps, right? Just think about one thing. Let's see, solve the Wi-Fi situation, or where is the power, click so you can turn
Yeah.
off the power to your bedroom. Try to do more grounding and earthing, right? If you really are in all these man-made frequencies and you can't even turn anything off, that's all right. And to go to the park, go to the nature. Weekends should be dedicated just to the nature. Stand with bare feet, get as much sun as you can, right? So
Right.
all these beautiful things that we can do that are very important. And Roman said it so many times, our body is electrical, right? We know that. Simple things, pulse, heartbeat, right? How they measure the frequencies in the brain. So all this is so important, our environment, right? And actually, I can tell you, I do feel the Wi-Fi. Whenever my husband turns on Wi-Fi in the house. I do feel it. He usually does it for a few minutes for some kind of, I get kind of a little bit
Yeah.
warm, and just a little bit like fullness. I feel
Mm.
fullness. And so that's my sensation. I know everybody may have a different sensation. So I'm not going to go too much into that. But Wi-Fi, though we don't see it, but we can feel it, right? We can
Mm.
feel it. And of all the people, I believe the children feel it a lot, but they can't convey to us, right? So I'm feeling the Wi-Fi
Right.
frequencies. They still yet learning about this world.
Mm.
We will finish up. I'll let Roman go, enjoy his day. And yes, I'll list all the information so you can stay updated, and contact and talk and have your home, because we love our homes. It is our castle, right? Where we like to be. We decorate our homes beautifully, right? We try to make them so cozy, and yet sometimes they are kind of like electromagnetic nightmare, right? But not to be that way.
Well,
Let's do
yeah. And
right.
even psychologically, you'll have your phone on the dinner table or in the kitchen. We try to make these boundaries. Like we'll have a tin box for our phones. We'll put them at a certain area at night. So we'll have certain lights that are amber or red that come on at a certain time. So just it's
Mhm.
all that's also psychological because your brain sees these things and it's a trigger, right? So we've sat down with families before where we do a whole seminar and we'll teach them about we'll teach the children, we'll get them involved, tell them how these frequencies are affecting them. One family,
Beautiful.
the child had a meter, and he was going around the entire house measuring. He was having fun with it, right? And trying to see. He didn't understand what was happening, right? Like and totally. By the end of it, he did. But we just gave him the meter, and he had tons of fun doing it. So, again, we just have to start somewhere. Even if it's no phones at the dinner table, let's have a 10-minute conversation, kind of thing, and see how that goes. Light a candle, right? And you need to
Mm,
have some level of normalcy or quiet. That
mm,
technology
mhm.
is always going to be there. So why don't you just, take a little bit of a break and we can certainly help you. Our website's thepowercouple.ca. You can reach out to us at info@thepowercouple.ca, and we call ourselves that just because we help people power on with light and power off at night. And again, thank you so much for this opportunity. And please don't be scared. Feel free to reach out to us.
Beautiful, beautiful. Roman, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of people will get so many useful tips from this podcast. And oops, something fell down. So, and we'll talk more. And yes, wish you all the best. And to everybody, have a beautiful day or night wherever you are. Until later.
Thank you, Dr. Masha.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye.